So in 2010 I was deployed to Afghanistan, and whilst serving over there I was involved in a contact firefight, and my Section 2 IC was shot and killed, and from that I got full body muscular twitches, involuntary muscular twitches, and was then sent home to get tests done and psych analysis and that sort of thing. I was eventually diagnosed with conversion disorder and a secondary diagnosis of PTSD, and was put on to psych meds and a treatment of seeing psychologists and psychiatrists.
So welcome to Brisbane Floating Massage. This is just a quick follow-up on Andrew McMillen's article in the Q Weekend of late last year here in Brisbane. The article has now gone global, which has been really interesting, and it's been used by float centres all around the world. Places like New York, London, there's a couple of places in Ireland I believe have got it as well. But of course the places around Australia have got them as well. So the people who've been coming here to this centre have asked me when we find out that they've come in because of that article, wanted to find out about Michael. Yeah, how's he doing? What's going on? And all of this sort of stuff. They just want to know. So we thought this was a great opportunity to get Michael into the spotlight and find out what's been going on since he's been floating. So today we'll introduce the man himself, and you can hear his story firsthand. So welcome, Michael and Rebecca. It's been 10 months since you first came to this float centre, through our front door. Do you remember that day?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So when I first met you guys, I only thought Rebecca came in because you were capped down, sunglasses on, and hiding behind her shadow.
Yep.
It was quite a different person than you are today, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So what changes happened when you started floating?
Well, at the time I was sort of doing a bit of volunteer work, and it was causing some stress for me, so coming in floating was really to help with that, and it definitely alleviated a lot of that stress leading up to the event I was helping organise. Just cleared my mind, allowed me to actually focus on the task rather than just worrying about what was going to happen or what if this happened. Just focus on actually what I needed to get done and get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I remember that Rebecca was talking about is that you were waking up to 20 times a night.
Yeah.
Initially. Did that change for any particular reason?
I actually believe it did, yeah. I was having problems where I'd wake up throughout the night, particularly in really bad night sweats, to the point where the bed was just soaked and I'd have to put another sheet on the bed, and that would happen sometimes multiple times throughout the night. And so with floating, the first 3 that I did did reduce that, and then the more I continued floating, that has now I haven't had a night sweat for quite a while, you know, and so that's definitely helped, as well as the duration of my sleep. Like the frequency of me waking up throughout the night has also reduced. Yeah.
Okay, so are you able to get a full night's sleep now, or is it still broken?
Most nights I'll still wake up once throughout the night, maybe once or twice, but most of the time it is. The rest of the time it's a very comfortable sleep, you know. I'm not as restless, or I did have a lot of problems where I'd have twitches or thrashing throughout the night as well, and sometimes that would wake me up, whereas now I don't get that, so that's definitely helped out.
So what other changes did you make? I know when we first started talking, we were starting to say, you know, we need to work on nutritional things, and I suppose this is more where Rebecca came in, but we were starting to use things like oils, coconut oil in particular. Has that helped?
Yeah, definitely. I use a massive amount of coconut oil now. I'm using probably about between 3 and 6 tablespoons of coconut oil in my morning coffee. And it's at the point now where if I go away and can't have that in my coffee, I sort of start feeling that my mind clarity and focus does start reducing after a few days without it. So it's something that incorporating these supplements and superfoods into a diet has definitely, combined with the floating, has made a massive impact. We've also incorporated yoga and a few other things into my treatment regime, as well. That's been very beneficial.
So you're talking about treatment. You've been, you returned to Australia and you were put under the care of a psychologist and the psychotic drugs and all of these other bits and pieces. How have they responded to your changes?
My psychologist has been reasonably supportive, although it's out of her realm of understanding, so she can't really give much information on what I should try more of or less of, because it's outside of what she's actually been taught. And the same goes for my psychiatrist. I'm at the point now where I'm not continuing to see my psychiatrist because there's no real value in it, there's no need for it. I'm not taking the pharmaceutical treatment that he can provide, and although he was supportive of what I was doing, he can't provide any sort of information on it either, so there's no real relevance seeing him anymore. So compared to where I was at coming back, like the actual relevance of the psych industry, I guess, isn't really there. Don't get me wrong, talking to someone was beneficial in the early stages, but now where I'm at, I've found other people that I can talk to instead of some of these, seeing the psychiatrists or psychologists as regularly, so yeah.
That's excellent, because you've come a long way. It's only been 10 months since you started this little journey. In our side of the world, and the float side of the world, and just the the difference I can see in you is just amazing. So that's exciting to see. So round about the end of October, we decided to install a float tank into your house. How's that changed your floating habits?
It's allowed me to actually float for longer, which has been really cool. Initially when we got it in, I was floating probably 3 times a week, 4 times a week sometimes.
How long, what sort of periods?
For all of those, they were for 2 hours at least. The longest I was in was for about 4.25 hours. But I try and average between 2 and 3 hours. I find that's a good time for me. And just similar to how you do it, a little bit of music at the start and at the end is generally, sometimes I don't have it at the start, but generally I'll have it at the start and the end, just for 10 minutes or so. Over the Christmas, New Year's period, I sort of died off a little bit and I went back. I think I skipped a few weeks where I didn't do it, but since the new year I've kicked back into gear and I'm doing it once a week again. I was in just yesterday for close to 3 hours, I think. So yeah, I'm back into at least once a week now, doing at least between 2 to 3 hours, which is great.
So Rebecca, that period of time that he didn't float, did you notice any regressions, any?
No, actually I don't really think that I did. I feel like we're sort of in this sort of zone now where the float euphoria, I suppose, sticks with us even longer. So even, like, I don't actually really see it dwindle off, but I suppose we also have the likes of yoga and things like that we also use in conjunction with the floating that sort of allows you to
not so up and down.
Yeah.
So you don't have those emotional fluctuations that you used to.
No, absolutely not.
Because there's so many elements in it now that we're using, it sort of allows, if I do slacken off on floating or vice versa, if I slacken off on yoga for a couple of weeks, I've still got floating. It allows me not to peak and trough as much, which is really, really good. Just try it. I mean, you got nothing to lose, it's not going to hurt you, so give it a go. Worst case scenario, you don't enjoy it, don't keep going, you know. Like, I personally figure if you want to actually get better or have a better quality of life, you have to actually be prepared to do something yourself. And so the people that are out there that want to change something, just give it a go.